Hi, my name is Justin Adrian Omeres at ngayon i-explain ko po ang mga sagot ko dito sa assessment number 1. First is what is eloquent ORM in Laravel and how does it simplify database? So my answer is eloquent is Laravel ORM that allows you to interact with the database using models and simply PHP syntax, making crude create, read, update, delete operation easy without writing SQL queries. So, ito po yung sample ko na code. And Eloquent allows us to interact with the database easily without writing SQL. So, take the post model as an example. We use the post create method to insert a new record. And the fillable array specifies the columns we want to allow to must assign for. Fetching records is also simple. Post all retrieves all rows from the post table, and post find the post with an ID of number 1. No SQL required. Next is number 2. How does Laravel handle HTTP requests and define routes? Laravel handles HTTP requests through routes defined in routes web.php or routes/api.php, mapping URLs to controller actions using methods like get. So here's my example code. Let me explain that to you guys. So in Laravel, routing is how we define which URL calls which action. In this example, the hello routes returns hello world using a closure, while dash home calls the index methods in main controller. So instead of setting up server configs for every route, Laravel makes it super easy with the that route get method. Number 3, explain the role of Blade templating engine in Laravel. Blade is Laravel templating engine that allows embedding on PHP and HTML, supporting template inheritance and clean separate of logic from views. Here's my example of codes. So Blade is Laravel templating engine, and it makes it easy to include dynamic content in our views. So in this example, we're using Blade to display the username and check if they're an admin. The extend keyword allow us to inherit layouts, while the section let us define content in specific section of our layout. And the Blade syntax, which is where is the Blade syntax? Ito, here. Outputs it outputs variable, and the if helps with conditional logic, all with clean and readable code. Number 4. What are the security features provided by Laravel? So Laravel offers CSRF protection, input sanitation, password hatching, encryption, and built-in authentication and authorization mechanism. Sample code, may hashing. So Laravel takes security seriously. For example, all forms include CSRF tokens with the CSRF directive to protect against cross-site request forgery attacks. For password security, we can hash password using the hashmake and verify them with hashcheck. This ensures passwords are never stored in plain text, keeping user data safe. So how does Laravel support task scheduling? Number 5. Laravel simplifies task scheduling via its scheduler, allowing you to define tasks with a clean syntax in app, console, and kernel.php, replacing traditional cron jobs. Cron jobs. Wait, yung code. Here. Code. Sample code. So, task scheduling in Laravel makes automation super easy. Is that, uh, oh yeah, yeah. So in this example, wait, let's replace the example. Ah, nandito yung example niya. Okay, so in this example, we're scheduling a job to delete logs older than 30 days every day. You define schedule task in app console kernel.php and use the schedule method to specify how often a task should run. Here, the daily make it run every day, but there are other options like weekly or hourly. Finally, you only need one cron job on the server to trigger Laravel scheduler every minute, and it handles all the tasks for you. Okay, so this is assessment. No, this is assessment 2. And here are my answers and some short explanation about my answers. So number 1 is how can you define a simple route in Laravel? And what will be a real life example? So a simple route links a URL to a specific action like returning a view or calling a controller method. So in real life, you use this for basic page navigation, such as defining route for your home page or an about us page. So this is my example code. It's code. And in this section, we define two routes. The first route responds to a get request at greetings, returning a simple message hello world. The second route for home directs to the index method of the main controller, which is responsible for rendering the home page content. Number 2. How do name routes work in Laravel, and how might you use them in a real-world application? So name routes allow you to reference routes by name instead of URL, making it easier to manage and change URLs in your app. In real-world application, you use this for things like generating links for user profile pages or redirecting after form submission. Here is sample code. So here we create a name route for profile, right? Yes. By using the name profile, by using the name profile method, we can easily reference this route elsewhere in our application. For instance, in our view, we generate a link using route profile. This makes managing URL easier and ensure that if the route changes, we only update it in one place. Number 3. So what is the purpose of route groups in Laravel, and how might they be used? So route groups help organize routes by applying shared attributes like middleware, namespaces, or URL prefixes. They are useful in real life for grouping admin routes or applying authentication to a certain section of website. Applying a prefixes and a middleware to a group of routes. This part showcase route groupings. We applied the auth middleware to all routes. Within this group, we applied the auth middleware to all routes within this group, meaning only authenticated user can access them. The the prefix admin methods add admin to the beginning of these routes, resulting in URL like admin dashboard and admin users. This structure is ideal for organizing admin functionalities under a common namespace. Number 4. How does middleware works in Laravel, and how can you provide a practical example? So middleware are filters that intercept HTTP requests and responses. They can check conditions like user authentication before granting access to certain routes. Practicals example: protecting routes from unauthorized users by applying the auth middleware. The auth middleware. Number 4. So, in this segment, we again use middleware for the dashboard route, ensuring only authenticated users can access it. Additionally, we create a custom middleware called check age. This middleware check the user age. If it's below 18, they are redirected to the home page. If they pass the check, the request continue to the intended route. Number 5. How can you handle form submission and CSR protection in Laravel? Laravel handles form submission securely with built-in CSRF protection. It automatically includes a CSRF token in forms to prevent cross-site requests, forgery attacks, and this ensure only legitimate users can submit form. 5. Example code. This section defines a form that uses the post method to submit data to submit form. The CSRF directive protects against cross-site request forgery attacks by including a CSRF token. In the controller's handle form method, we validate the submitted data to ensure the name field is required and meet length constraints. If validation passes, the user is redirected to a thank you page. Assessment 3. What is template inheritance in Blade and how can it be used in a real-world application? Template inheritance allow you to define a base layout, e.g. header, footer, navigation, and extend it in other views. In real-world application, this simplifies layout consistency across multiple pages, such as ensuring all pages uses the same header and footer while allowing unique content per page. Example code here. So, so here we create a base layout in appblade.php that includes a header, content area, and a footer. The yield directives define where child view can inject content, and in home.blade.php we extend this layout and provide specific content for the title and main content area, ensuring a consistent look across the page. Child view. Okay. Number 2. How can blade section and yields be utilized to manage content in different views? Section and yield are used to inject content into a specific parts of a layout. In a real-world app, you use yield in your layout to define placeholders and section in child view to fill those placeholders with content like page, titles, or body text. Here. So, this example illustrates how section and yield work together. The base layout defines a placeholder for the title and content, and the child view about that blade.php fill this section with specific information, allowing for modular content management. 3. How do blade control structure makes your code more readable compared to raw PHP? So blade control structures offers a cleaner, more readable syntax compared to raw PHP control structures. This improves the readability of your code by removing the needs for PHP tag, making it more concise and visually clear. Blade control structures like for, reach, and if simplifies the syntax. This code lists items and conditionally display a message for admins. It's cleaner and more readable than using raw PHP, improving overall clarity. So number 4. What is the purpose of the syntax in Blade and why it is important for security? College of Information Technology. The syntax is the syntax in Blade is used for outputting data. It automatically escape the output, preventing XSS attack by ensuring user input or data is sanitized before being displayed. This is crucial for security in web application. 4. The syntax, yung syntax here, this curly braces. The curly braces syntax outputs data safely by automatically escaping any HTML characters, protecting against XSS attack. Here, user data is displayed securely, ensuring that malicious input is sanitized before rendering it in the browser. Number 5. How can blade components and slots be used to create reusable UI elements? Blade components and slots allows you to create reusable UI elements. You define a component, like a button, once and use it throughout your app, passing different content into it via slots. This is useful for building consistent modular layouts in a real-world app. 5. So blade components allow you to create reusable UI elements. In this example, a button component is defined once and can be used multiple times with different text and types. This promotes consistency and reduces duplication in your code. Okay, so this example highlights how blade feature improve your application structure, maintainability, and security. Okay. Assessment 4. So, how do you configure multiple database connection in Laravel, and why might you need this in real-world application? You configure multiple database connection in the config database.php file by adding additional connection under the connection array. You might need this in a real-world application when working with different databases for various services, such as using one database for user data and another for analytics. This is a example of codes in number 1. And multiple database connections are configured in the config database.php file. Here, we added a second connection for analytics alongside the main MySQL database. This setup is useful in real-world applications where different services might require to separate database, such as one for users' data and another for analytics. Number 2, how can Laravel Query Builder be used to efficiently retrieve data from the database? And what is a real-world example of this? Laravel Query Builder allows for fluent, efficient database queries without writing raw SQL. You can chain methods for filtering, ordering, and paginating. A real-world example is retrieving a list of active users with a specific role. And here, example number 2. This query builder allows you to construct database queries fluently. In this example, we're retrieving a list of active users who have an admin role, ordering them by their creation date, and paginating the result. This makes it efficient and readable without the need for raw SQL. Number 3. How do you define a use eloquent models in Laravel, and what is a practical use case for this? So, eloquent model represent database tables and provide an easy way to interact with them. You define a model by creating a PHP class that extends model. A practical use case is managing a post model to handle blog posts, allowing it to create, read, update, and delete posts easily. Example number 3, using the model. Eloquent model represent database tables and simplify interactions with them. The post model corresponds to the post table. In the practical use case above, we create a new post and retrieve all posts easily, leveraging eloquent built-in methods. Number 4. What are migration in Laravel and how are they used to manage database scheme changes? Migration are version-controlled scripts that define database schema changes. They allow you to create, modify, and share your database structure. You can run PHP Artisan to migrate to apply these changes. They help maintain consistency across development, staging, and product environment. Example number 4. Migrations are version-controlled script for managing database schema changes. The create post table migration defines a new post table. You can run PHP Artisan migrate to apply these changes, ensuring consistent database structure across development staging and production environments. Last, number 5. How do you create a use seeder in Laravel to populate your database with initial data? Seeders are classes used to populate your database with initial data. You create a seeder with PHP Artisan make seeder name, then defines the data in the run method. To use them, you call PHP Artisan dbseed. This is useful for filling the database with test data or default settings. Example number 5. Seeders are classes used to populate the database with initial data. Here, we create a post seeder to insert sample posts into the post table. Running PHP Artisan dbseed populates the database, which is useful for testing or settling default values. Yes, sir.